This one's just a amount.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And welcome to the Winslow Township Board of Education. This is our regular board meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 11th. Public notice of this meeting was given to all board members and associates in a notice dated January 6, 2022. Adequate and electronic notices of the public meeting has been provided specifying the time, place, and manner in which this meeting is being conducted. It was advertised in the Courier Post, posted in all schools, the administration office, the municipal building, the library, or dual centers, Edgewood Acres, Allentown, and the Winslow Township Post Offices. And this is our mission statement. The mission of the Winslow Township School District, a large, diverse, and growing community, is to educate all students to become independent, lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and caring and confident members of their community. The district, in partnership with the community and in the climate of cooperation and mutual respect, will provide an academic environment which values excellence and diversity, encourages students to strive for personal excellence, and assists them in acquiring the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to contribute positively to a rapidly changing world. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Present.
Ms. Dredden? Here. Ms. Martin? Present. Ms. Moore? Present. Ms. Nieves? Present. Mr. Shaw?
Present.
Ms. Thomas? Ms. Peterson? Present. And Ms. Pitts?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can you now stand for the pledge?
The United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Twenty 2021-22 district goals. Student achievement. Continue to implement best practices in delivering instruction to students utilizing all available and appropriate instructional models. This shall include A, ensuring articulation at all grade levels throughout the district. B, focus on innovative classroom instruction at all grade levels. C, ensuring all students have equal access to equipment and resources needed to facilitate and promote student learning in any setting. D, evaluation and updating all district programs, including athletics and extracurricular activities. E, accountability of all district staff. 2, continue to foster a positive school environment that is conducive to teaching and learning. A, focus on building relationships among staff and families that will result in increased learning and more effective instruction. B, emphasis on collaboration with all district stakeholders. C, promote an inclusive diverse, and compassionate learning environment. 3, market our strengths and achievements to all stakeholders to increase capacity for greater parent, caregiver, community support. A, continue with our public relations marketing plan. B, continue to work with the various advisory committees in the district. C, examine communication methods utilized by district.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Moving down, board members, I'm on page 2, awards presentation.
Madam President, we have no presentations this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Cozy. Moving down to correspondence.
We have none, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. Ms. Fuller, I just received a text from Ms. Thomas. She will not be able to join us.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes of our Board of Education, our regular meeting, which was held April 27th, 2022, open session.
Motion to approve our meeting minutes, regular meeting, April 27th, open session.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore? Yes. Ms. Villegas?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Wicks?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving down, board members, who are on committee reports, would there be a report out of our athletic?
Ms. Moore, going to read our minutes.
It's going to be in 2 parts.
Okay.
Mr. Shaw's going to report. The athletic committee met on Thursday, April 28th at 5:35 p.m. in the WebEx. In attendance were John Shaw, Chair, Aaron Blake, Cynthia Moore, and Mark Whitaker, Athletic Director. Dr. Cote is not. Fall sports registration begins May 9th for the high school. It will begin sometime in June for middle school. The spring sports summary, we're going to come back to that. Mr. Shaw's going to do that. But some additional information was for track. The track team recently participated in the Blueberry Relays and will be participating in the Penn Relays, Camden County Championships, and Olympic Conference Championships, sectional, state tournament, and meeting champions. The lacrosse, boys and girls, and baseball. First season in 3 years since the COVID pandemic. Boys tennis, 1 on 427, and art had. I'm not a sports person, so I know it's going to be 500. So, okay, the junior varsity teams for baseball, softball for the first time in 4 or 5 years. The lack of feeder programs, no way to assess how lack of feeder programs will affect teams. There was not enough interest in the baseball feeder program offered, so it's dropped. F, middle school sports, track, over 100 students are participating. For baseball and softball teams or fall, participants are learning skills, etc. C, Olympic Conference, male and female athletes of the year from Winslow. Congratulations to Jaya, Ms. James, and Emerald Mitchell. Award ceremony was held on April 26th at the Pensacola Country Club. D, physicals for fall, middle school, May 17th, high school, May 24th, and August 2nd. Miscellaneous. Mr. Blake asked what we can do about teams losing by double digits. Mr. Whitaker commented that he has to have some teams, baseball, softball, boys lacrosse, and girls lacrosse playing our division only, not within conference, and that they are getting better. Ms. Moore asked for an update regarding the championship jackets for the football team and marching band. Mr. Whitaker responded that we are waiting for the vendor to get the final price and the assurance that he has the materials to make them. We are hoping to have them ready before graduation. The athletic department has supply chain issues and being affected jackets as well as other items, including tennis balls. Mr. Whitaker was asked to come to the next board meeting to explain some of the challenges we have been dealing with. The meeting adjourns 6:14. Next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 19th at 5 p.m. via WebEx.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Mr. Shaw has the other.
I have to receive our safe update from April's spring sports. Girls track and field, congratulations to girls track team for an amazing performance at the Woodbury Relays. The ladies scored 60 points winning every relay they ran. Every Lady Eagle earned the coveted Woodbury Relay Gold Watch. The Lady Eagles also boasted two of the fastest times of the day in the 4x100 and the 4x800 relays. Gold medal watches went to shuttle hurdle team of Jaya James, Jordan James, Cameron Holmes, and Janelle Marshall. 4x200 Brielle Brown, Janelle Marshall, Cameron Holmes, and Jaya James. 4x800 Victoria Campbell, Charlie Dunn, Ava Milner, Alana Henry. 4x100 Brielle Brown, Janelle Marshall, Diane Robinson, Jaya James. Sprint medley, Sierra Wilshire, Jaya James, Naomi Askilpi, and Catherine Orange. 4x400 Brielle Brown, Alana Henry, Cameron Holmes, Janelle Marshall, Brielle Brown, third place school jump. Another note, the 4x800 also qualified to run 10 relays for the first time in school history. Boys track and field. Boys track and field team is off to a good start. On April 9th, they placed second in the 77th annual Bridgeton Relays. On April 23rd, they placed third in the Woodbury Relays. We are 2-0 on the season and our goal meets and eager to get back in competition in the battle this weekend. On Thursday, April 14th, the young men of the boys track and field team held their annual day of service by giving back to the school that gives them the opportunity to be educated. The high school track and field team picked up over 14 bags worth of garbage around our high school when over 50 students participated in the event this spring. Boys lacrosse. The spring season for boys lacrosse started on March 7th. We started our season emphasizing the fundamentals of lacrosse, throwing, catching, cradling, as well as ground balls. We are fortunate to have three returning players, Sean Berkeley, defense, and Chris Bishop, attack, and Olan Riwanji, John, attack. These three players have added points to the scoreboard, scoring in contests against Middle Township and Vineland. Additional scoring has been provided by Darnell Vasquez and Makai Godwin. The boys lacrosse team has grown to 17 players, including Jordan Addison, Ivan Burton, Samir Nazal, Caleb Moon, and Tyler Parker on defense. Ryan Bishop, Finn Harrison, Dan Munchel on attack, Lamar Jackson, Stephon Peel, Justin Reynolds, Josh Smith, and Sincere Spence admitting. Our goal has been anchored by the talents of Josh Cherry, who, although a defensive man, has stepped into the position of goalie and has had many astonishing saves. All of these players are new to lacrosse as we rebuild this season, as it is our first season since the onset of COVID. We were unable to play in the 2020 and 2021 seasons. There is real potential on this team, and we continue to learn the game and move forward in a promising direction. Remember, lacrosse is the fastest sport on 2 feet. Girls lacrosse. The girls lacrosse team is currently in the building phase as the last 2 seasons saw lackluster participation due to COVID. This season, the team consists of 23 energetic players who are eager to learn the game. The team is led by captains Annika Harrison and Angelina Scheiber. The team has played a handful of games and saw success with Annika Harrison scoring a goal against Paul Another highlight this season is our goalie, Mia Akara. Mia transferred from Sayreville and has been a force of the bench. She's over 50 saves for the season. The girls continue to grow and develop and are looking forward to the upcoming games, including our senior night game on May 5th against Arlington City. Boys tennis. The Winslow Township boys tennis team has lost to a good start this year. They're currently 2-3 and look to be at 500 after Wednesday's match against Palm 6. Our record is already an improvement over last year's performance. We have 11 players this year, up from last year's total of 7. Key players returning include Max, Ani Yamila, Louis Maluz, Victor Naima, Keegan Leach, and Gavin Ruby. Newcomers include junior John Malone, Jose Ortiz, Jeff John Bobby Malingo, Brian Allen, and freshman Tyler Robinson. Baseball. After a rough start of our players trying to get their footing back in the sport after COVID, we're finally making some very good progress compared to where we were in the beginning of the season. Players are now getting better, we're efficient on defense, and do the game much better. The last step we now need is to get over the hump with our pitching. No one on our team has ever been a pitcher previously, so we're still climbing on this long journey of getting to where we need to go. But we have definitely seen a lot of promise for our future with such a young team. We only have 2 seniors, so the rest of this season and the next few should be much brighter for us. We have a freshman player named D'Angelo King, who has done a wonderful job for us. He's very eager to learn and has been very important part of our team. Another sophomore, Darian Dillon, who has stepped right in and played the most important positions on the field right away without much experience either. The scores have not followed the progress and hard work that this team has put forth this year, especially for a group that the majority never played sport before. The 2022 softball team has 23 players this year. We had a varsity and JV schedule. The team is 3 seniors, 3 juniors, 9 sophomores, and 8 freshmen. Our team is full of young and little to no experience softball players. With that being said, we are strong finding success in our 2022 schedule. In our in-conference games, we have been very difficult. However, our out-of-conference games, we've seen more competitiveness and improvement in our 2022 team. We have 5 more games left in our season. Each game has gotten a little better than the last. We hope to pull out at least 1 win by the end of the season, or have at least 1 extremely competitive game by the end of the season. Middle school softball. Winslow Middle School softball team is having a great season thus far, focusing on the fundamental skill development that has led to improving performance each game. The ladies demonstrate determination, perseverance, excellent sportsmanship. They're developing a love for the game and developing strong teammate bonds. Go Eagles. Baseball. The Winslow Township baseball team has started off with competitive spirit. Pitcher Makai Torres had an amazing first game against Morgantown, from 7 strikeouts to the opposing team, suffering. Our first loss had pushed through to reevaluate our fundamentals and further assess our skills. We plan to push forward and finish the season strong. Track. Winslow Township middle school track team has seen much success this season in many forms. Athletes have come back ready to compete. The first regular season shutdowns. The team had a strong finish during the first regular season meet at home and continued to train hard in preparation for the remaining meets. Boys and girls relay team finished near the top of the 10 schools who competed in the men relay qualifiers, approved by Winslow deserves their spot members.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Any comments or questions?
Can we give Mr. Whitaker a chance?
Absolutely. Mr. Whitman, I'm sorry, Mr. Whitman. That's right, it's going to be.
This has been, and everybody's been on topic since the fall. And I know Dr. Whitty has fielded many questions about our athletic teams and the competitiveness and other various topics about this. So that's why we asked Mr. Whitaker to come.
Good evening. Okay. I just wanted to talk about how excited we are that we have spring sports once again. Last time we played spring sports was 2019, so we had a hiatus of 3 years of not having enough students to have a team. So we are excited that this year we have a full team and we even have JV in baseball as well as softball. Some of the things that we did this year, because we knew that spring sports would be a little bit behind because we haven't had spring sports in 3 years. For baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, was we asked the conference to eliminate the crossover games in the conference. So we would just play our divisional games, and this would allow us to get 6 extra or 7, maybe even 10 extra games with teams that were a little more competitive. Because other teams had suffered the same type of things that we went through during these COVID years. So we are, happy to have these sports back here at Winslow. We're happy that we have enough kids interested that now we got, junior varsity and the sub-varsity teams that now we can, train them and, how to pitch, how to throw, how to catch, how to run. We can do all these type of things now with our junior varsity as well as our middle school. And these are some of the things that, we're happy about. The unfortunate thing is that in the township, the Little League used to be very popular and a lot of kids were involved in Little League. Unfortunately, here at Winslow, we haven't had a Little League in approximately 2 or 3 years. And we don't know yet how that's going to affect us here at the high school, but obviously we can say that we're going to do the best we can with what we have, and we're going to work hard and continue to practice and work on fundamentals for these kids so that by the time that they are seniors, they are very competitive.
Does that conclude?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Board members, any questions, comments for Mr. Whitaker?
Mr. Whitaker, I believe there's other districts that are experiencing the same thing with less because of the gap. Just like in education, there's gap learning. I think the gap in physical education and competitive sports has been a holdback to where we are today. But I'm excited to see that we are making progress, and we do have some extracurricular activities that will give them that social, emotional support to go back and engage in those activities.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker, would you expound on the issue the parent has sent an email to us about the baseball program and alluded to the fact that we did have a baseball team or program last year, the year before last. But I think there's some clarification needed to address that issue. Would you address that for us?
Yes. Unfortunately, last year, baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, they required so many kids to come out. Baseball, we need 9 in order to play. Unfortunately, we only had about 7 kids. So I did talk to a couple of my colleagues in the conference, and we did have a couple of scrimmages. And what they would do is when they would come, they would give us kids from their team to play on our team. So, at least the kids, got a chance to play and hit and run the bases and things of that sort. But we would just call it a scrimmage and not a game because, you're getting kids from the other team to play on your team. So, we're happy that this year we didn't have to do that. So we had enough kids that we could field an entire team for boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, and unfortunately, in the past few years, we weren't able
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
I actually had one question for you.
Now, like Ms. Moore, I really haven't been paying too much attention to sports because my son's been out of sports for a little bit. I know some of the contention that I've heard from the community has been with our soccer program. And I know Dr. Poteet has mentioned, feeder programs are an issue. But with soccer in Winslow, we do have a very robust feeder program there with the Winslow Township Youth Soccer Association. So I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Well, if you look at the agenda tonight, we have landed a outstanding coach that is going to come in and rebuild this program from the ground up. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with our all-star that graduated, I want to say maybe 2015, somewhere around there. Her name was C. King. That because now playing professionally, she went down to North Carolina to play in college, and now she's playing professionally. He has agreed to come on as our new soccer. So we anticipate great things coming here for Winslow soccer.
Ms. Whitaker, you clearly allow us to understand in seats 5. For the coach at soccer team, Zeke's dad has been, of course, very instrumental in soccer in the community. Of course, he trained his daughter. He's trained other young ladies in the community. He is well respected in the field of soccer, and he has come to us and asked that he have an opportunity to build a soccer program here at Winslow Township High School. So we welcome the opportunity, and hopefully we'll start seeing some results. I don't think it'll happen overnight, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But building a program takes time, but at least we're moving in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
That's awesome. I did notice that Samantha Foray is going to be an assistant, and she is also a former Winslow Tiger.
Yes.
So, awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. That was all good news. Very good news. Thank you. Continuing board members with our board committee reports, so that we report out of the education committee.
No report committee will be meeting this month.
Okay. Look at the report out of our marketing.
Yes. The marketing committee, we met Monday, the 9th at 4:30. In attendance was myself, Ms. Moore, Mr. Webbs, Ms. Fitz, Mr. Davis was the district representative. We focused on 2 items. Item number 1, we focused on family communication initiative. Mrs. Webbs discussed taking a 3-step approach with our family communication initiative. The first step was to start an app system to notify families of what's going on in the district. 2, we also discussed paying a staff member a stipend to manage Winslow Township social media pages and websites. And 3, we talked about doing a climate survey, which will be further discussed at our annual board retreat. The second item we discussed was our participation in the Juneteenth activity on June 19, 2022, from 2 to 8 at New Oakland Park in Cipro. The marketing committee discussed the following 3 things. 1, do we want to participate or have a table at the event? The marketing committee will have a table at the event. We actually talked about who's going to man the table. We are asking, the marketing committee is asking board members to volunteer. We also discussed what will go on the tables. We had some ideas. We talked about a picture display, the events that took place in Winslow Township schools. Items could be a digital display. We also talked about putting voter registrations on our table, a flyer, what is Juneteenth. We also talked about showcasing our valedictorian and our salutatorian. We also discussed some Juneteenth activities. We discussed talking about doing an essay contest. We talked about who's going to do what as far as like working on the flyers, providing or putting together a rubric and an essay question. We also talked about ADD. Board members, I had a conversation with Mrs. Clinton, who is the Juneteenth liaison with the schools, and she said that the essay was being taken care of, but we can support the Juneteenth committee with the essay. But as far as the essay was concerned, they had an essay, they spoke with Dr. T, and they also had like an art contest. So, but at the time of the committee meeting, we did not know that. So, but it is in the notes. As far as supporting the committee, supporting the committee with the essay, I'm not really sure what our role could be. So I'm going to take some suggestions, or we can introduce some suggestions about how we can support the committee with the essay contest. The essay contest is only for the middle school and the high school.
Mr. Blair, you discuss that now, or
We can discuss that now, yeah.
Okay. So, therefore, you're saying that, it has already been determined that there will be an essay contest.
Correct.
So, what you're asking us now, I understand that, how much will the board participate
Correct.
in that essay contest? And so, the essay contest will be for the middle school and the high school.
Correct.
And, so the essay contest certainly has been defined, the number of words for.
All that, from my understanding, Dr. T, I don't know if you can talk more on it, but from my understanding.
I can address it in part, however, Dr. Carpenter has been our liaison to township, she's met with, Mr. Watkins, we had detailed conversation. Dr. Carpenter, could you elaborate on what kinds of things, the two of you discussed and what some of the expectations are?
Yeah, so the request from the township was that the students participate in an essay contest, which Juneteenth means to you, as well as some form of artwork. So I shared with Mr. Watkins that I had some concerns about your request. And the request was that students from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade participate. We were asked to have all of the students participate, and that the school district would select 2 pieces of work per grade, per school, and submit them to the township. So I shared with Mr. Watkins that I didn't think that that was a fair approach. I thought that their request really was unreasonable. And to expect that kindergartners through 12th grade would be able to participate in a written contest as well as the artwork, really I thought was a bit much. So Mr. Watkins and I agreed that the township would be willing to accept whatever the district would be able to provide. I also shared with him that this was a bad time for us because it's testing time and it's at the end of the school year. So for me to request and mandate that the staff participate, I can't do that. However, I did have a conversation with all of the principals, and the principals are willing to support the initiative, but we can't guarantee that we will be able to meet their request of 2 pieces of work per grade level per building, because it's a voluntary thing. He understood, and he thought that that would be fine. The other concern that I had were the requirements that the work be submitted on an 8.5 by 10 sheet of paper, and I said, that's unrealistic for artwork, especially if you're asking for something from the middle and the high school. And it's also difficult for young students, but I also don't think that we should be the judges because it's their project. So he agreed that he and I would meet again once I was able to finalize exactly what we would be getting from the principals. And when the testing is coming to a close soon, then we will know exactly how we can assist. But we will be participating. I just can't guarantee how much work you will be getting. There was nothing, I don't recall anything in that memo that stipulated that the essay had to be about a maximum of 250 words. I don't recall that. I do know.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, I just came up, I thought about something. If Mr. Gray and the marketing committee wanted to participate to be judges of the essays and for the artwork, to provide that work to you. And as a committee, you can decide which of those individuals would be considered the counterpart which we would present to the township. Because I think at this point, they were expecting the teachers and everybody to do all of that. And as Dr. Crawford mentioned, this is toward the end of the year, there's a lot. So we will provide you with those essays, the committee, and so the artwork, you can be the judge. I guess that would give the teachers a little more time just to get that information to you. So I think that would be next idea for the marketing committee to sit with judges of those essays as well as the artwork. Okay?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, when we initially was doing the essay contest, not knowing that the township was doing it, we were going to be judging anyway. So I think that was excellent.
Okay. And that will help us because at this point, not only are we finishing testing, now we're going into end of year activities. And it's quite bad that we're trying to plan around the end of the year. You know, once we get into June, that's probably the most important or the busiest time of year. High school, middle school, final exams, and of course, it is a busy time. So I think that would really help the teachers if we could provide a team, a marketing team, with that information and maybe could assist us in doing some better. Thank you.
I just had a comment, and I think it's great that the marketing team is going to take that task on. As a board member, I would like to see, not the judge, but I would like to see us go a step further so that the entire board and those that have come out to board meetings, if you can do a videotaping of the different pieces so that we can actually see. We may not be afforded the opportunity to look at the artwork and all the other.
One of the things we did talk about, we were going to display the essays at our table or the artwork too, so that people can see.
So, Mr. Blake, if I could add, in my conversation with Mr. Watkins, the plan was that I believe he has some kind of a large tent, and in that tent was where all of the artwork was to be displayed. So I don't know how much you're going to get,
Right.
but whatever we get, I'll collect and pass it on.
Okay.
But, and Dr. Boutique also in June, which is another problem, is that we have half days, early dismissals during the last week, so we're only talking about a really good 2.5 weeks, and we have testing that goes up until the end of May.
Yeah, the timing and everything sort of put everybody in a sort of crunch mode, but at this point we'll try. As long as we make it clear to the young people that, you know, it's voluntary, you know, we don't want them to feel like they have to, but I think there are enough young people out there who would volunteer to either do some artwork or write an essay. And I think as long as we present it that way, we ask the principals to try to see how many young people can volunteer, participate, and you probably get more participation and reception, knowing that it's something that they can volunteer for, as opposed to something we're mandated to do.
Well, Mr. Blake, again, in the marketing committee, it's good to know that we were the, great minds in life, because when we met as a marketing committee, we had no idea that the township committee was the Juneteenth. Because again, this is a township event, we had no idea that they had essay contest going. So, but I need clarification, because are we saying, board members, are we saying that our participation in the Juneteenth will be to judge the essay contest and the artwork? Is that what we're saying? Is that the recommendation?
That's my recommendation to the board.
To the board.
Yes,
To
to
judge the essay contest and the art.
Yes.
I'm perfectly willing, to judge the essay. But I still have nightmares from the 5th grade nun laughing at my art. So I'm going to back away to judge anybody else on, but I'm more than happy to choose the essay. Yeah, but what I just need to know is if indeed, and thank you, Dr. Crawford, Dr. O'Keefe, for letting us know, or at least reminding us of how busy it is these last 2 months of the school year. And so if indeed we're going to have the essay contest, did Dr. Crawford, did Mr. Watkins say that there was a cutoff with regards to when the
Mr. Watkins is waiting for me to give him a deadline.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Watkins is waiting for me to give him a deadline.
Oh, okay.
And I explained to him that I would have a better handle on that once we got closer to the end of testing. And I meet with the principals next week to find out how much input they've gotten from your teachers and how many of them, have indicated that they will be participating. So I have heard from the middle school and high school, because the high school is the first to do their testing. So they should finish up this week. And then the middle school follows behind. So like I said earlier, there will be participation. I just don't know how much.
And so so therefore, at this point in time, we're not really able to say exactly and give a deadline date for submission of the essay?
No.
We'll work it out.
Yes.
So can we say that hopefully we'll have it worked out by the end of this month?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking in terms of time.
We absolutely will have to work.
Okay. Okay, so
My question is, there any other creative form of display? We have some talented theatrical students that might be able to do something, a short piece. They didn't mention that. Or if it's someone that can do, yes, but there's a lot with some of his story. There's a lot that you can do with this piece beyond just the traditional spoken word. You can do spoken word, you can do displays, you can do a number of different things. So we have some talented students.
But here again, I would guess that that's totally on Mr. Watkins, that's how he wants to design the Juneteenth celebration.
Yeah, we just participate, it's not our function.
No, it's not.
So we don't need to have a table.
Oh, yes, the marketing committee, absolutely, that we as a board have a table. And what I shared with them this meeting was a conversation that you and I had with regards to what our table would have. Things like that you suggested, I think a collage of various kinds of events and activities that has taken place, and also possibly maybe doing some buttons and which we talked about that. So I shared that with the marketing committee as we what we would have on our table. Also, a suggestion was that perhaps with the idea that our table would be a branded table for the district. Everything that we would have on our table would be representing and informing all who attended, the great things and the great students that we have here in Winslow. So again, the collage that you had, even the monuments, my thought was perhaps not knowing who the valedictorian or salutatorian will be just yet, whoever they are, knowing of their pictures, putting them on our table. Those were just suggestions that came out from the marketing committee. But what I also wanted to do tonight was to establish the fact that yes, we will have a table, and to say to the board members that we have it's a 6-hour event, and if we're going to have a table, I would need to know exactly, there's 9 of us, and that's only 6 hours. So if each of us would be able to cover it for an hour, at least cover the whole event. So, board members, what I'm asking tonight is that perhaps by next board meeting, if you could email me the hours that you would be there. It begins from 2 and it ends at 8. Okay?
And make sure you see TV.
Oh, I'm sorry. And let's do this. Well, again, I could have it go directly to you. If that's
And then I can come up with a little,
just a little schedule.
schedule. That's the word I was looking for.
So let's redirect. You're volunteering for that day. send an email to Mr. Williams. Let him know what time frame between that, from that 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. you will be. And now I just said an hour, if you want to get more, that's totally up to you, and I'm sure Mr. Blake would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah,
And,
definitely.
and right now, Dr. Motti, it appears that we think that, for our table, we might be, we may need maybe 2 tables, but we're not sure, but we'll let you know.
And as far as the budgets are concerned, where were you getting the budgets from?
That was just a suggestion.
Oh, that was just a show, okay.
That was just,
I have a button.
Okay.
Ms. Peters said what, maybe, now we just have to, determine what we're gonna put on it. I mean, that could be. But I did like her idea of, having a collage, which would be perhaps getting pictures, from the various buildings that they would want to submit. Mr. Davis, I think, because I believe you're a photographer. Our resident photographer for the district.
I would put amateur in there.
But again, just throwing this out there.
But Mrs. Smith, I just want the board to know, a lot of the requests made amongst by the township, we ran into an issue because it is a Sunday. Our school district is over that Thursday. A lot of teachers are going home, for the summer, which meant that a lot of them weren't going to be able to participate, and maybe some of the students wouldn't be able to participate depending on their summer activities. So we had that conversation with Mrs. McClendon and Mr. Lockton, just to let them know that the timing and some of the issues we were running into, because they were asking for quite a bit, and we had to let them know that we couldn't guarantee that certain teachers and programs would be there because their day, the school year is over on Thursday. To expect them to come out that Sunday, we couldn't guarantee them, but we just wanted them to know that that was one of the concerns that we had.
Mr. Blake,
That concludes my report.
board members, any questions, comments with regards to the Lockton report?
Excuse me, Mr. Peterson, instead of doing it now, can we get together at some point? You can't hear me?
No.
Too close to the mic.
Okay.
Can we get together at some point to discuss the collage? What your vision was for that, instead of taking up the time.
That's only a job.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Moving now, would it be a report out of the operations committee?
Madam President, that at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the policy committee will be meeting on Thursday, May 19th at 4 p.m. Via Zoom. And you will be provided with the information on the topics and the policies that we will be discussing at the time. Citizens Advisory Committee, will be reported out of the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Yes, Madam President. Citizens Advisory. Met on Thursday, May 10th. The attendant was Thomas, Senator Mass, Martin Thomas Sellers, Missouri, Rosemary Hoffman, Carolyn Carter, Michelle Haynes, Peter, Gibson, Carl, Martin Sweets. Correct. There was no use. Board members were Martin Schultz, old business, regular minutes, new business. There is a discussion about the parent support group, which I will not go into the discussion because it is quite lengthy, it's tabled at this point. There is a recommendation that is not been defined, so I will not be reading that. We talked about student feedback. They also talked about social media / digital communications. And that was about all that was at the meeting on Thursday. That meeting is scheduled for June.
And what? The date of that meeting?
Give me 1 second.
Is it still the first Thursday of the month?
It's the first Thursday, I think it's June 5th. No. June 2nd, at 7 p.m. in the administration building.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Questions, comments? Was the city supervisor committee report? Okay, thank you. Moving on our agenda, and still on page 2, I'm asking for a motion to review the superintendent's report that begins on page 2 and continues through to the bottom of page 4. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please. Page 4, number 23, professional development.
It should be July 2022, yes. That's okay. Thank you.
So we do understand that that was just a typo.
Yes.
So but the motion is still there. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Moving now, board members, I'm at the top of page 5. I'm asking. Roll call. Sorry about that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Stratton? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore? Yes. Ms. Deanna?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you. Well, moving now at the top of page 5, I'm asking for a motion to approve the business administrator for the secretary's report that begins at the top of page 5 and continues through. It continues through to the middle of page 13. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the board secretary's report.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Will we give any further questions or comments?
Madam President, I have one comment.
Yes.
In addition, on item 10 on page 6,
Yes.
tuition contracts, we have a lot of itemized numbers, but the total for tuition is $3,046,684. Actually, it's $3,046,683.52. Budgetary rounds up.
So that was the 3,046,683.52.
Correct, Madam President.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Stratton? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Deanna?
I need to abstain on item number 12.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Board members, at this point, we're moving now, I'm on page 14, and we just approved the board secretary, board administrator's report. Now, this, on page 14, is activity that we do once a year. And for the purpose of forming something, reminding others, this is that time of the year where we go through and look at our various vendors who offer us services, and we're going to look at them individually, and I'm going to ask for a vote on them individually. And so that means that we will look at, and I will ask for a vote of the solicitor, bond counsel, school auditor, architect, engineer, and school medical officer. that's exactly how we're going to go. And so let's begin, again, at the top of page 14, with the solicitor.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I move that we appoint without interview solicitor Wade Long, Wood, and Long.
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Ms. Ritter, that we move to appoint Wade Long, Wood and Long as our solicitor for the year commencing.
July
July
3rd
3rd through
June 30th.
June 3rd. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Drake? Yes. Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving now to amendments, I am at the top, page 15, and we are looking at the bond council. Before I ask for a motion, does anyone have any questions or comments with regards to this particular item? I would advise us, just as a point of information, that all of these particular vendors that we're going to be voting on, I would, at least I do, pay very much attention to what Ms. Boyle would have to say, because in all of these instances, she's the one that works most closely throughout the year with these. And so I value her opinion and her comments. So, bond counsel, at this point, does anyone have any questions or comments?
Madam President,
Yes.
when I knew this was coming up, I looked at some of these districts that I had quasi-friends that are on school board, and I did hear of one that stood out of the 10 districts that I called. So I just wanted to let you know that our review, because this is a special.
This is especially, it just reminds us, at our last board meeting, I believe, that Ms. Boyle indicated that with regards to getting the HVAC and also air conditioning for buildings that, because we don't have sufficient amount in our budget that we're going to have to, if the community approves to go out for a bond referendum, and so therefore, if we're going to do that, we need to be able to have a bond council to help us do that. And so that's what this, because normally, even if you look at your agenda, last year there was no bond council, but this year there is. And so, is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept Parker McKay, PA, as the bond counsel for the next year.
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Ms. Drake.
Well, explaining those who don't understand what the bond council, like all this information.
Right now, board members, again, feel free, I don't think that's what this. No, that's not what, so just for clarification.
You stated that, we should heavily rely on her recommendation, I never heard what her recommendation was.
No, I think I said more because I value her opinion. Where's that?
Okay, but we do not hear from Ms. Boyle about,
Ms. Boyle, any comments?
Can I just, Madam President, Robert's rules of order, the motion on the floor, then discuss. I just want to make that part of it on, so we can then discuss. We are still taking a look. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's see, the last motion.
Ms. Boyle, any comments on the matter?
Yes, I understand that Parker McKay, this is basically their specialty. I was looking at, and we gave you fee schedules, we tried to put as much on, but also in the exhibits, it showed how to calculate what the fees are based on the amount of the bonds that would be required. If we don't have that figure, I was going to try to give us a sample calculation. The first company, well, I'm not even gonna go through that. I agree with Barbara McKay.
So can I, at this point, I'm asking for a motion.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion and a second.
And a second. And are there any further comments?
I have one question.
Okay.
And I don't know if it factors into our decision, and Ms. Corley, you would know better. I understand you're recommending Barbara McKay. Is there any, and this would be a stupid question, so I apologize. I don't say guarantee they're successful, but do they have a success rate in being able to procure these bonds? If that makes sense?
Well, let's say this, it would be based on the community's response. So if they're receptive to it, yes. But if you have a community that's not receptive to it, I don't believe any bond council is going to convince somebody to do something they don't want to.
Then it's a dead issue.
Yes, it would be a dead issue, but they would help us get to that point and allow us to find out what the feeling is in the community before we go through the whole process of putting together a referendum and then going through all those cases to be able to basically test the waters. If it's not receptive, they'd be inclined to let us know that. And of course, it would still be the decision of the board whether you want to move forward. They could give us a cost estimate, how much bonding we would be required to go out for. So they can pretty much walk us through the process. And again, they have a department in specialty. We have the department pay.
Mr. Board, may I just expound? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason we're in this situation is because in the past, as you recall, many parents complained to us, especially May, June, September, October, it was so hot in our buildings. Why haven't we air-conditioned buildings? One of the reasons we responded was we didn't have the money, but we were doing what we can at the pace that we could based on the finances we had available. I said to the community last year, well, if that is the case, if you're not satisfied with the pace or the manner in which we are moving forward, then maybe we should put it to the community, raise taxes, get enough money so we can do it at a more rapid pace. In order for that to happen, we are pursuing the bond council, who, and it can become very expensive, so rather than us continue to move forward, we need to know whether or not this community truly want to move forward, raise taxes, and allow us to go forward with a thorough referendum. If not, bond council will be able to tell us, once they do quote unquote their survey, get a tempo of community, come back to us and say, the support is not there, school board. It will not be our recommendation that you move forward because it may fail. But as a board, you can say, well, okay, we're going to do it anyway. But I think that's the value of the bond council. Their procedures will save us a lot of money and a lot of steps in advance because it can become an expensive venture. But I felt that it was necessary that we do get a tip of the community once and for all, because this comes up every year, particularly during our more warmer months. And our response has been, we're doing the best we can. However, if you want us to speed up the process, you're going to have to do something. And that's pretty much what we do.
Ms. Nieves?
Okay, so just so that I understand, so bond council, it would then be, the onus would be on them to go into the community and take the temperature, not on the teacher.
So if I may,
Yes, please.
Because you and I have had this discussion, Mrs. Boyle and I have had this discussion. So whenever you go out for a referendum, you just want to take the temperature of your community.
I've been through a few of these, and I didn't want to say anything because it's not my place, but with this firm. And they will sit down with us, explain the process, develop a game plan on how it is to be approached. Suggest that you may engage certain surveying firms that would actually go in, they wouldn't specifically go into the community at this rate. That they would present to you someone who would gather information upon which for you to make an intelligent decision, like, you have a 20% chance that this would pass, there's a 50-50 chance that this would pass, or it appears to be there's overwhelming support for air conditioning all our buildings. So you're gonna get early in the process, you're gonna have to make a decision, go, no go. And if it's no go, the expenses are gonna be relatively inexpensive. If it's a go, then there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done with the state, plans, with bond council, getting these approvals in place. So we're gonna dip our toe in. And that's what we're doing now. We're starting that process. Dr. Batiste said to me, Howard, how do we get this process started? I said, engage bond council. We don't have one. So the same thing in this sport. So this is the first step of taking the community's temperature on this particular issue, and then the board will be in a position to look at real-time information and say, it's not happening, or let's make a run. I think, you all become advocates, moving forward in the community. So that's sort of the way it plays out.
We're also having this, once it comes up again, the community made it clear that they're not interested, then that's the response we give them. They continue to ask us, why haven't we got the bill of air conditioning? We let them know that we went through the process. We had bond council. Their recommendation to us was there wasn't enough interest in the community for us to move forward. And that's pretty much what we do. We just need to know where we stand before we jump out.
So, in the chance that the community does not seem to be conducive to that, would they recommend steps that we could take to get our community there, or we're not at that point?
I believe they do recommend steps if we want to try and have the community have a change of heart. But there's certain aspects of the community, as you know, very well, that are never going to vote for something like this. And in certain segments of our population just don't have the support of this. But I can tell you, the fire district was very aggressive in coming here multiple times, and it failed and failed and failed, and they just kept at it, and they won. But they came here and spoke to, they went to senior clubs, they came here, they went to talk about public safety and how important it was for this community to have adequate facilities to protect you. And I thought they did an excellent job in the marketing of that, the way they handled it. They didn't get discouraged after I think 2 or 3 fees. They kept to it and they got it done.
There's a significant difference in the fire department and the schools. Everyone in this community needs the fire department. And it's a service that everyone at some point will need. That's not the case with air conditioning in schools. One, you have a large senior population that have no contact with us at all because either the children are going over here, etc., so they don't have any contact. There's another segment of the community who do not send their children to schools, so they may not be interested in whether or not we. And those are the kinds of things we dealt with when we went before our last referendum, we failed drastically, because the things we were told in our meetings and going out was that they really didn't have any interest in supporting something that they indirectly didn't have any contact with. So at this point, we never went back out, and I think tax increases, referendums, and every time we went out, we failed every time. So I don't know, but that's one of the things we have to find out. Has there been a change of heart over the past 10+ years? Will those sectors of the community come out and support something like this? We don't know, and that's again, the purpose of having the podcast, we may find out for us.
Ms. Evans?
No, 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 thank you.
Is there any discussion? So, the motion is put on the board. Al? Is it second? So now at this point, you put your roll call.
Mr. Blaine?
Yes.
Ms. Tredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Wicks?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Now moving to the top of page 16. The next vendor that we need to vote on is the school auditor. So therefore, Mr. Wall, do you have any comments to make in regards to this? Because as you can see, we only have one, and that's Bowman. And we have really, those of us who are here. Again, this is, I'm taking my time, especially for those who this is really their first experience with this. And this is a very, very important part of what we do. And so again, our school auditor, does anyone have any comments to make before I ask for a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Peterson moved to include Bowman and Company as our auditors for the next fiscal year.
Second, Shaw.
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Mr. Shaw. I'll ask it again, any further comments and questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Dredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you. We're moving now, board members, to number 4, vendor, the architect. Would there be any discussion, questions, comments?
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I'd like to have input from our board, secretary and the
Yes, Madam Vice President, looking at the pricing, land is more advantageous pricing wise and plans our current architect. So, we had two vendors respond. So my goal would be, land is involved in many projects with us now, so we would like to continue.
However, we did have the other one at one time, since I've been on the board, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I had to jar my memory.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Any further comments, questions, discussion before I ask for a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Peterson moved for Land Associates as our architect for the next fiscal year.
Shaw, second.
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Mr. Shaw. Again, with any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Dredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. Moving now, board members, page 17, to our next major vendor, and that will be the engineer. Mr. Boyle, with your, it's only one, but you're again. Do you have any comments to make?
They've served us very well during the time they've been our engineer. So I would recommend reappointing a CME consultant municipal engineers for the subsequent year.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Board members, any further questions, comments, discussion? Therefore, hearing none, I'm asking for a motion.
Peterson moved consulting and municipal engineer, CME. Who would say?
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Ms. Perkins. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Shredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Moving now to number 5, to number 6, I'm sorry, on page 18, our school medical officer.
Yes, Madam President, we had two firms or companies respond. We have Cape Regional Physician Associates. That is the firm that has been servicing the district for a long time. Dr. Doyle is affiliated with that firm. The second firm is a new one that has come to us. They do not have as much experience as Dr. Doyle. The difference in the fee is only $900. I recommend we stay with Dr. Doyle, even when we wait out the score. Her firm, Key Physicians, scores better.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Any further comments? At this point, I'm asking for a motion.
Peterson moves for Cape Regional Physicians Association for the school medical officers for fiscal year, the next year.
Moved by Ms. Peterson, second by Ms. Shredder. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Shredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Thank you. So we can all say it aside, we got through it. It's minimal damage. Moving on now, I'm at the top of page 19. I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report that begins on the top of page 19. Mr. Longman. Mr. Longman. Mr. Davis, Mr. Jersey. Yes, Mr. Longman. And moving through and ending at page 35. Is there a motion?
Motion to Shaw, the personnel report.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Flake. Further comments or questions?
Yes, Madam President, there was on page 4, letter F. I'm sorry, page 20, item 4. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Letter F, under new hires, we'd like to strike letter F because that person rescinded.
Okay. So board members, the motion to approve with the understanding that we're striking page 20, letter F. Any further questions on that? It's been moved and seconded.
I have a lot of questions about that.
Okay, Mr. Blake?
The STEP program at school, at the elementary school,
Are you still in place for next year? Okay, what page?
I'm sorry, 21,
21, letter E.
I was just looking at the.
Staff this time?
Yeah, I just noticed that the STEM program, I just want to know more about the STEM program.
Does this speak to the STEM program?
I don't know, that's what I'm saying, because we have it rights, but I just noticed the name.
Right, I can address that. As you know, the shortage of teachers is a major concern for us. We looked in our staff and decided that we have a good teacher who will better serve our students in the classroom, and that we can provide those STEM services either through the curriculum in our science classes, because more than one teacher force involved in the STEM program. But at this point, based on the needs of School 5 and the needs of our staff and students, we felt that it was better for us to put a good teacher in the classroom, particularly at that testing grade level, for the school years, so that those young people would be better served. And we can definitely make up that STEM program through the curriculum of the other science teachers. But at this point, we're in a situation where we have to put our people where the greatest needs are.
Okay, but I know that, didn't that school win an award? Sir?
Well, all of the schools have won some grants over the years through STEM and science programs from lower elementary through high school. And of course, we are aware of that. But at this point, we have to weigh what is in the best interest of our needs and students. And right now, we need to put good people on that testing grade for those young people, particularly students.
Any further questions on this motion?
Yeah, and I'm confused, not unusual. So looking at the clubs. And
Now, wait, I'm
Who
sorry,
pays
which
you?
page are we
well,
on?
it's going to start out, there's a lot, so.
Okay.
Around page 33, I guess.
Page 53.
So I'm just asking, I didn't see anything on here about the marching. So I was just wondering, what was going on with that. I mean, I know it was Parker's leaving, and it seemed like it wasn't even complete yet, so I'm just.
I can address that. I can address that. As you're aware, Mr. Parkhurst is retiring. Therefore, to put somebody in place without having the director, we were interviewing today for that position. So once we get a director who's tied to that in place, they will then appoint and be a part of the process with the people that held the other positions. So that stuff is basically on hold until we fill the position at the high school.
Which is the music teacher.
Correct.
Instrumental
It's all
music
tied
teacher.
together.
Right, so again, we're in a situation where you gotta fill the positions of greater need, and right now, we need an instrumental teacher. Usually, the instrumental teacher takes on band and those kind of things, but we're not sure what expertise and what that person will bring to the table. So that's where we are at this point. Fill the music instrumental position first, and then hopefully we can take care of all those supplemental responsibilities that they can go into.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I just was.
Right.
But that's why.
Through this, and I was concerned because I know that, the marching band, they start preparing
Yes.
summer.
Yes.
And all like that, so, you're near my heart. so-
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Was that the only one this morning you said? Any further questions, comments, discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Brennan, Ms. Martin, Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Deanna,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson. Yes. And Ms. Pitts.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion is carried.
Moving now, board members, to our agenda, we're at the top of page 36. Agenda here. I feel certain that we've had an opportunity to read through this, so therefore, we'll go forward and ask for a motion to approve the superintendent's report as it appears on our agenda, beginning, with number 1, superintendent's report. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the superintendent's report on the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Will there be further questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Yes, Ms. Martin?
On page 4, number 23, that professional development, correct. Food workers, nurses, and publicity, development, by.
No, we on the agenda.
No, I know, but it looks like it's the same thing, so, yeah. for 13.
But you said page 4.
Wait,
We talking going back to the regular agenda.
on the regular agenda,
Okay.
page 4, number 23, will the same as both your approving then. So that's the clarification.
On the agenda, the date is wrong, so it was modified and placed on the addendum instead of making a correction there, so they are one and the same. One has the incorrect date, the addendum has the correct date.
Okay, because I know we mentioned
So
that.
since it was already corrected and
Yes.
adopted in a corrected
So
form,
there's-
there's no need for us to vote on that. But that's
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We'll note it, Mr. Long.
Well, so, all right, so we're all together here again?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. So therefore, at this point, I'm still on the addendum, I'm still on page 1, and I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report as it appears on the addendum. The middle of page 1, and it continues through to the top of page 2. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the personnel report on the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Deanna? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Smith?
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Walls. Looking now, I'm still on the addendum. Page 2, I'm asking for a motion to approve the business administrator or secretary report as it appears on page 2. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the board administrator, board secretary report on the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Deanna? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson? And Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you. We're moving now, board members, back to our regular agenda. We will be in order to public record requests.
None this evening, Madam President?
Thank you. We're moving now to old business, board members, we will be in old business, we will care to discuss at this time. Hearing none, moving now to new business, board members, we will be in new business that you will care to discuss at this time.
I have something before Dr. Juneteenth started. As you all know, Stephanie Sanders, who was very involved, she's been very involved around here. She passed away, not too long ago. And so there's a group of us who would like to do something to memorialize her. And so it's proposed that we purchase, and when I say we, the group, not the board, that we purchase 2 benches, one to be placed at the high school soccer field, and one to be placed at school barn. So I had asked Dr. Coaching about this, and he said that I needed to bring it before the board to discuss the logistics.
Ms. Pitts, can I just interject for a second?
Yes.
And I'm sure Ms. Simmons, condolences to her family, is a very lovely person. And Ms. Moore, you're bringing this forward, I know it's totally coming from a kind, genuine act and suggesting something like this. But I've been through this before with some other districts. I just want to make a couple of observations for the board to consider. My concern is the lack of objective criteria in our policies to establish appropriate memorials that are lacking, which could lead itself to multiple requests, both past and present. And it's not my job to decide whether an individual should be honored or how they should be honored. I mean, sincerely, and I mean no disrespect to the family when I say this, but it's my job as your solicitor to make sure that when we do things like this, we do it the correct way and we don't open up the floodgates. and make sure that there's rules in place to protect the board. Again, ultimately, it's your determination. I think back to Dr. Poteet when we did the Jordan Burroughs thing, when we did the Barry Wright thing, when we did the Gordy Auditorium. You know, we have a policy 7250, deals with school facilities and naming, and it's quite a detailed, objective process, so that we don't have a flood coming in saying, we want to name school one after this, we want to name school two after this one. So it's a very deliberate process that involves the administration and through Dr. Poteet and the board. If you remember the way those things were set up, there were public hearings on them. Doc had opened it up for comments from folks. In this particular instance, we do actually, I was surprised to find that we do actually have a policy that deals with things exactly like you suggest. And that's 8860, entitled memorials, which were adopted on April 14, 2010, and then revised on March 13, 2009. And again, this is just for the board's education. The ultimate determination is yours. And that policy says, the Board of Education recognizes that each officer and employee is important to the school district and the community at large. The loss of any officer or employee of this board by death is a loss that the board and the school district will share with the community and memorialize in an appropriate manner. The superintendent shall recommend to the board, and the board may approve appropriate recognition measures when the deceased board officer or an employee has especially distinguished his or her service to the school district. The superintendent may, in his or her discretion, grant an employee of the school district, and that's really not relevant, it talks about leave of absence and things of that nature. But we do have a specific policy. The problem with that policy is it envisions actual board members and employees, as the naming one also has a very detailed provision. So we don't have 30 people coming in the next year, past or present. I think it would make sense to try and develop some criteria, at least, where these could be vetted in conjunction with the administration, because it could, and again, no disrespect, please understand me, no disrespect meant at all to what this woman did for the district. I don't know her. I'm sure if you're recommending her, it would have been significant. But if 10 more come up, or 10 say, how come, my mother wasn't, honored, we need to have an answer to those folks. So again, it's not my decision to make. It's my decision to tell you that you have a policy that only goes so far in addressing the type of things that you want to address. And should you desire to ignore my advice, my feelings aren't hurt. Should you desire to amend the policy to reflect instances just like this, there are manners in which to do that. But I thought it was important that I let everyone know that there are those issues out there that we need to be cognizant of, so that we don't find ourselves in you're a yes, you're a no, you're a yes, you're a no. It would put the board in a very, very awkward position. As long as we were to document it, you'd be protected from that. But it's not my decision to tell you what to do. I mean, I get where you're coming from at this point. I just want to make sure that we're aware of, we do have 8860 memorials as a policy that this board has adopted, and it would be deviating somewhat from that policy if we were to proceed. Not that can't be cured in certain ways, but I just thought Dr. Peta had mentioned to me, did I have any experience with this otherwise? So, and I have, and there's other policies that can be implemented, but, hopefully you take my words in the manner in which they were intended, which were very genuine, and make sure we do things the right way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, actually, Mr. Long said, take your advice and, this is a delegation. What I would say, Mr. Morris, this is that certainly this board also, can you hear me now? Is this okay? Certainly this board also realizes this is the loss of Ms. Simmons. If you can recall, it was just, I believe, the week that she passed, that this board initially stood up and did a moment of silence for her. As long as I've been on this board, I know that there have been moments of silence for certain people publicly in the news, but I've never known us to do one for a parent and a member of the Winslow, a person who had a child in the school. So I reflect upon that, and I think that certainly shows how we also felt about the legacy of Ms. Simmons. I would just like to just to suggest to the board this, and to this board, to the group that you're talking about, if I could just, I'm thinking in order to procure her legacy and honor her, you might want to think about establishing a scholarship in her name. A scholarship is a living legacy. As you can imagine, now, no matter how large or how small, and I'm speaking from personal experience, any scholarship does matter. And so a scholarship would be whatever you would deem, knowing that this would be carried forth by a student, and even beyond that, because we know that when we had documents as students and we graduated, we went through bragging rights, through what we've done, to say, when I graduated, well, I've received this scholarship, graduated from high school. So that's just a recommendation, Ms. Moore, that I would have for you to take back to your group to consider a living scholarship in her name. How do you feel about that? Board members, any comments?
Yes, I just wanted to answer about the scholarship that it's my understanding that to have a scholarship instead of issuing, there's a process that goes into that. And I think that this was more recommendation of something that we can just do it and have it over with, and not have to form a formal group or whatever to do that.
Mr. Moore, you would not have to form a formal group to do that. You would simply let the district know that you would like to establish a scholarship in her name, and your group would be the ones to determine exactly what the requirements to do it and exactly what you would want that scholarship to say. So it would not, it's not really anything that would, it would be a situation where it would be one and done. And again, going forward, it would, you would determine how many years you would want to give the scholarship. Because for those of us who have attended, and I'm sure you may have, because you had to do it to graduate awards night, and there's many, Dr. can attest to that. There's many scholarships that are given out to students by various organizations and individuals in our community and outside of our community as a way of assisting students with their educational journey. So board members?
I just had a question. I'm aware of policy 8860. A policy, and I'm asking the solicitor, a policy also after it's flushed out can be amended, am I correct?
Oh, yes, it was initially adopted in 2010, and I'm not sure what the 2019 amendment was, but there was a revision in March 13th of 2019.
So I would suggest that maybe the policy committee review that, come back, because it might be others that So I looked at one memorial garden that we had, that there was very few people that was aware of it.
Any further comments? No other comments? So board members, what I need to know, what would be the answer that we're going to give to this board?
This board, can you wait another, when is the policy committee meeting?
Thursday, May 19th.
Oh, absolutely. So you could do that? Policy committee, could you,
We can place that on our agenda. Okay. Any further new business to discuss at this time?
Mrs. Fitz, I had two quick items.
Yes, Ms. Taylor.
I just wanted to acknowledge that today was National School Nurses Day, so I wanted to give a shout out to our school nurses, particularly ones that take care of my children because they see them. Also, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, which is a cause near and dear to my heart. And I happened to be in the library yesterday and noticed this brochure, so I wanted to bring this to the attention to the community, as well as having our wonderful guidance counselors that we do have. Camden County also has its own National Alliance on Mental Illness group as well. And we do have a virtual support group the second Tuesday of each month. So their information would be on their website, so I'm just something that perhaps the community would like to take advantage of, considering the rise in mental health issues, particularly during this trying time of the pandemic. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. That's good information. And it's especially good because what you've given us will be memorialized in our minutes, so that others can pick up and see that at any time. Any further new business?
mine's informational, but I would like to commend the marketing committee from last year and the discussion we had 2 weeks ago. It allowed me to send a thank you note to the school that I am assigned to. So can I take a few minutes to read the email I sent to the principal and the staff and said, "Good morning, Mrs. Gilbert, Floyd, and staff. I trust this email will find your family, school 3, staff members, and you doing well and reflecting on the many accomplishments and milestones achieved this 2021-22 school year. Given that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for all that your staff do for our students every day. Some of lifelong memories and social emotional bridge builders occur in the classroom, hallways, offices of School 3. One thing that stays consistent in each endeavor is a staff member smiling faces, or caring gestures. Over the past 26 months, your staff has made numerous adjustments, building confidence in our students and challenging themselves as educators to create innovative hybrid teaching methods and counseling opportunities that support a new learning environment. I am extremely grateful for all that your staff and you have done and continue to do for our district. Staff like yours makes life-changing moments and experiences happen every day. And there is no profession more worthy of the title of superhero. Kudos to your excellent staff and you for making School 3 an impactful learning environment. Sincerely, Julie Peters.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Thank you very much. Any comments? Thank you again. I'm sure that Ms. Gilbert was very pleased to receive that. Any further? No further new business? Now we're moving on to informational items. Dr. Booty?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and community, I have several information items this evening. One is very, very important, and that is we are reminded that we're still in a pandemic. COVID-19 cases are spiking throughout the state of New Jersey, And as a result, we have received additional information from the New Jersey Department of Education and the New Jersey Department of Health, stating that the regions may be moving in the next 2 weeks to the high range, and that we are to take precautions, particularly for those end-of-the-year activities that we may already have scheduled. We are monitoring the community transmission, and if we fall in that high range, then we may have to make some changes. As you well know, we have tried and will continue to make plans to implement and carry out moving up ceremonies at the upper elementary school, moving up ceremony here at the middle school, and of course graduation at the high school. We have honors assemblies scheduled, we have superintendent awards, and so on and so forth in the month of June. But we need to be cognizant of the fact that in the event we continue this fight, that we must take precautions. We are being asked to look at all of those activities that we have planned and follow the New Jersey Department of Education as well as the New Jersey Department of Health guidelines if necessary, which means going back to universal masking, continue with social distancing. However, it's also a situation where we have to cancel some of those situations or some of those activities in the event we continue to move in that direction. Now, one of the first things, now we're going to do everything we can to keep from canceling an activity, but we will also have to make sure that we make our decisions in the best interest and safety of all involved. So one of the first things we will have to recommend to our parents, if so, is that in order for you to attend, you may have to wear a mask. Because a lot of applications have already gone out. So in order, and we have the right, of course, to modify those directions. So if we have to ask people to wear a mask in order to attend, we would expect the parents to accommodate us. If we also say that we have to scale back, and instead of having the entire family come out, you can only invite 2 guests, then we would expect the parents to work with us. And if it gets to the point where it really gets bad, then we may have to cancel some of those activities. Now, we do not, under any circumstances, want to cancel graduation, moving up ceremonies in middle school and high school, but we must remember that we're still in a pandemic, and we're asking everyone, please follow all the safety protocols so that we can get through the end of this school year. Are there any questions at this point? I'm hoping we don't have to make any changes or modifications, but are there any questions or concerns? The pandemic is spiking not only in New Jersey but across the country. Hospital cases are increasing. As a matter of fact, I think they're up 50% from 2 weeks ago. And it's the times that we're living in. None of us want to go back to where we were a year ago, 2 weeks ago. But we have to be very careful. Moving on to the very next information item, which is much more cheerful. The Winslow Township High School students were selected for the New Jersey All-State Treble course. We are excited to announce that 3 outstanding singers from Winslow Township High School, Kazia Awa, grade 11, Kiana Calavero, grade 10, and Shiloh Garrett, grade 9, have been selected into the 2023 New Jersey All-State Treble Choir. Those activities, of course, will take place in February of 2023, and they will be performing at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, New Jersey. And we would like to send, of course, a shout out to Mr. Torhini, our music director, who continuously work with our young people and put them in the best possible way to be successful year after year after year. We are represented on that choir. I also like to announce that the last board meeting, I mentioned to you that the Winslow Township indoor winds and indoor guard won their regional tournament, and that they were going to be participating in the Atlantic Coast tournament And they had, the weekend of April 29th, Winslow High School Indoor Guard performed at the Tournament Indoor Association's Atlantic Coast Championships held in Wildwood Convention Center. They were successful, and they are the 2022 Tournament Indoor Association Scholastic Intermediate Atlantic Coast Champions. As I said in the last meeting, Mr. Parker, kids are winning to pack his things and move on to the next phase of his life. But we want to continue to send our Winslow proud shout outs to our band and our guard. They've been winning everything this year, from outdoor to indoor, tremendous accomplishments this year.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So for the guard, they were the region one champions as well as the Atlantic Coast champions.
Yes.
And they were undefeated for the season. They had the highest score of any guard this season.
So these are the kinds of things that, these are the bragging kinds of things at Juneteenth Day that our board will have on our table.
This information can be found on the district's website for more detailed information. But thank you, Mr. Booth. Appreciate it. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we found out that the Winslow Township High School television and radio broadcasting program, who competed in the NFL Films video competition, they presented a short documentary about Trey Moore, a football standout with an incredible story of resilience. The production team had 10 days to write, produce, and edit this entire piece. They took first place in the competition and won $7,500 for the TV production program. Ladies and gentlemen, stiff competition. I had the honor of viewing that documentary a week before it was submitted. And I said to Mr. Ingram, Mr. Ingram, of course, holding back tears. I mean, this was a real touching piece. Really touching piece. We'll have it on our website tomorrow. I said, Mr. Ingram, that's a win. That is definitely a win. When he sent me the email this morning and said that they won, tremendous accomplishment. These young people, that radio and TV production program is one above the rest. Truly, this is the second time we won that competition since prior to the pandemic, so we didn't have any competition in between. So the last time we competed, we won yesterday. Tremendous accomplishments. As a matter of fact, Madam President, I think if you do not go to our website and see this, we have to show that award. Tremendous. Now, this young man, I'm not going to tell you the entire story, but what they did, they documented a story of a young man who played football as a toddler, lost his father when he was 14 years old, had a lot of difficulty making that transition, and found his peace as he came to the high school, became a member of Winslow Township High School's football team. A tremendous piece. They interviewed his sister, they interviewed him, they interviewed members of the team, and he has pretty much come through all of that and has been successful. Excellent documentary piece. Excellent piece. I recommend all of them see it. We'll make sure that we have it on our website tomorrow. Tremendous piece. Tremendous piece. They did an excellent job. One that we all can be proud of. Truly proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, even in the midst of the pandemic, our young people have made more strides and have accomplished more and have won more competitions this year than prior to the pandemic. That speaks volumes, not only for our students, but for the staff who are working with these young people, doing tremendous things. So I will continue to yell from the rooftops, mountaintops, as the ambassador of academic excellence here in the Township School District. My last piece of information, ladies and gentlemen, I have been working with a group of community organizations for the past 3 weeks almost a month, Mr. Joe Thomas brought to my attention that there is an NFL grants groups grant available and asked me would I be interested. I read the grant, and basically what the grant is for $250 for $250,000. I'm sorry. $250,000.
That's what Mrs. Boyle making.
But that's right, but this is the part of the budget presentation, so I'm allowed to make some numerical add to it. But anyway, $250,000, the grant is $250,000. And it is for of course, football program to renovate a field from grass to turf. And in order for you to apply for this grant, you must have community organizations who will join with you, who will agree to raising money to match the grant, and also be able to raise enough money to complete the project. Now keep in mind, in order to change the field of turf, we're talking about $1.3 million. The grant is only for $250,000, so that's just starting money. It's a lot of money to be raised for this to happen. So what I did, I took the liberty to reach out to some of the community organizations, particularly football, because the grant specifies that football programs in the community should be interested as a part of the grant. So I reached out to the Winslow Maulers, Winslow Eagles, Winslow Soccer Association, the Elite Football Program, the Dock Organization, Winslow Township, the Mayor Lawrence and Mr. Gallagher, and also, of course, Winslow Township School District as the hub, because what we came together and agreed that we will make an attempt to renovate the high school field to turf, because most of our games are on Fridays, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, the soccer program and all the football program and other organizations can use it for the weekends. We felt that was a great idea. Everyone who came to the meeting thought it was a great idea. But part of the recommendation is that the local football program in your region, your application will receive a lot more support if your local football team will support. So I wrote a letter to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I gave them an overview of the community. I told them what we were trying to do. I told them it was important to this community because we do not have a boys club, we do not have a girls club, we do not have a recreation center. We do not have all those things that most communities have. And this would be a great opportunity to bring the community together under athletics, in which the grant basically specifies. I have spoken to the Eagles. They say they will get back to me. We'll follow up this week, early next week, and see where they stand, because it sort of threw us off because the draft was just last week, and they were tied up, and they didn't have any time to do the grants, I'm unsure. But anyway, that's where we are. One of the things I need to make sure I indicate is that this group stated that if we do not get the $250,000 grant, they still want to move forward with this project. That's how strongly they felt. They've been coming up with some ideas, we've been coming up with some ideas, all the businesses in the area, all the banks in the area, that we will go out and try to raise that money for all these organizations and see if we can come up with enough money to renovate that field. That's how important it was to them. We're talking hundreds of young people who benefit. Our football team, our soccer team, our lacrosse team, boys and girls, in addition to all of the youth organizations will benefit. So we have hundreds of young people who benefit from this project. So our next meeting is Wednesday, May 18th. We're going to come together. Our grant writer, of course, Mrs. Forrest, is assisting us with this, and we're hoping that we can continue moving forward. Even if we do not get the grant, if it takes us a year or so to raise this money and talk to as many businesses and vendors, this is a project the community really feels strongly about, and we're going to continue to pursue it So that's where we are. I thought it was important that I bring to the board so that you know that the township is supporting us, those organizations, the school district, and hopefully we can raise money at some point and move forward with the project. Any questions from anyone at this point?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does that come with stadium seats too, or?
Well, Mr. Blake, you know, another million. You know, as one of our vendors and supporters, we'll make a statement at you. But no, but I think at this point now, so you know, our long-term goal down the road, we're talking about anything in the very near future. One of our long-term goals was to do some work on the field. You know, we need to do press box, scoreboard, those kinds of things. At some point, we're going to do that when all these other projects take priority. I think the community realized, particularly the little league teams in this community, because one of the things they expressed to me was, even as well as their teams do, they never had an opportunity to host the playoffs. Because you can play, let's say, 8 games in that one particular day, let's say on Saturday, but on the regular field, by the end of, let's say, the 4th or 5th game, that field is in such bad shape. So what has happened, the teams who had turf fields, North Jersey, Central Jersey, so we always have to travel there to play our games because we don't have the facilities here. They say it would be great if we could have the turf fields so they can host games so that the other teams in the area and other teams across the state could come to Winslow. We have a place, a facility that we can all be proud of. So they feel very strongly about that, and I do too. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great community builder. I think it's something that could be a part of this community for years to come. We've had conversation in the board about athletics and meeting with the community and talking about things to enhance our athletic programs. What better way to do something like that? And also give those young people an opportunity to play on a high school field. What an incentive. And then, of course, continue into our high school program. So we're taking this initiative very seriously. We're hoping that we can raise some money. We will not have, the grant is due May 31st. We will not have $1.3 million accounted for by May 31st. But we're going to move forward with the grant and see what happens. And hopefully the Eagles, I spoke to a couple people and they're all for it. I mean, they dropped all these names on me who they think would be interested. I mean, really big celebrity type people. That's all well and good until we get something in writing on paper about how much the contributions will be. But anyway, I think there's enough interest out there for us to move forward with this project. And I'm willing to answer the questions or concerns you may have as we move forward. Anyone? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. At this point, I'm going to just excuse myself, and I'm going to ask Ms. Peterson to take over the public comments portion.
Public comments. The Winslow Township Board of Education highly values the input of citizens in making important decisions that have affected the children of our community. We also believe in the right of citizens to observe board meetings to ensure that all of our citizens have the opportunity to attend school board meetings and offer comment, and to ensure that the board can conduct the important business of the district. We ask that speakers follow the guidelines for making of the comments. The board secretary will recognize those individuals in the audience and online who wish to make a comment. Please respect the following procedures. 1, all members of the public attending school board meetings must treat each other and the board with respect. 2, state your full name and address. 3, please limit your comments to 4 minutes. 4, submit your questions to the Board of Education with your name, address, and telephone number where you can be contacted. Your questions will be answered within a reasonable time. And 5, individuals offering citizens comment are not permitted to make personal attacks on any district employees, board members, and other testifiers or members of the public. I entertain a motion for opening of public comments.
Motion to open public comments.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake, that we open public comments. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It has been approved.
Madam Vice President, we have nobody signed up to speak this evening. I'll check the technology. Do we have anybody?
No callers at this time.
As usual, thank you for giving that information. As usual, we'll wait a few minutes so that we can see if there's anyone that will come online. In the meantime, we can conduct business if Mr. Blake would like some of the board members to specify the time that they would be willing. We can do it now while we wait. Anyone want to offer the time that they would be able to man the table at June 19th?
What you need to say.
Great, maybe we can slow.
Maybe you can get them coming at you also as well.
Mr. Blake, I'll take 1:30 to 3:30. That is
1:30, perfect.
I'll take the same time.
1:30 to 2:30.
anyone else as we wait?
Yes. 3:30, I'm sorry, it's 11.
3:30 to 5:30.
Just wait, I took that, because I got 8 a.m.
For those that have to look at their schedule once they get home, feel free to email Mr. Blake, and I appreciate your willingness to support this endeavor. Have we, anyone on the line?
No callers at this time.
I entertain a motion for closure to public comments.
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake, that we adjourn public comments. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion has carried. Thank you. Mr. Solicitor, will we be engaging in an executive session tonight?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We will not be engaging in an executive session, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank the entire board on behalf of my firm as I start my 13th year here as a solicitor, to give my appreciation and sincere thank you and confidence in my firm to provide legal guidance to this district for another year. It just seems like it was yesterday. We're now starting year 13, and I love coming here. I love working with the people here. My partners love working with the people here. They're just so cooperative, and kind and so smart to work with. Just really enjoyed our time here. I've told my partners that in probably about 2 years, I'm going to look to start cutting back because I've been doing this a very, very long time. And I said, I want to, but I'd like to keep, God willing, 3 clients to represent. And this would certainly be one of those, because of the enjoyment that I have coming here and seeing the improvement in the district. It's a great district. It inspires me, and I just want to thank all of you for just having me for 13 years. I'm surprised my wife had me for 13 years. I really appreciate it, folks. I sort of know a little bit less than I do my wife for sticking around with me for 13 years, but just thank you very much. There's no need for closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I entertain a motion for adjournment of this board meeting.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw and second by Mr. Blake. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion has carried. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night. Thank you.